Hello and welcome to the Infinity Saga and Beyond, an MCU fan podcast. My name is Jordan, and with me today is Ron. How are you today, Ron?
I'm doing good as always, George. It's great to be here with you, just talking about some of our favorite things, like always.
Yes, our favorite things, including Madam Web, that we'll get to in just a little bit. Sorry, you set me up for it.
I
Um,
did, and I realized that after I said it, I was like, "Wait a minute!" The first segment of this show is the exact opposite.
yes, yeah, but you know
There,
what? Yes, we will be getting a Madam Web um, review, teardown. I don't know, whatever it ends up being with
I will
Ron and
tell you
Chris.
this. I will tell you this, and before we dive into the already kind of critical reaction and my expectations going into it,
Hmm.
um, I will give this movie a chance. I will absolutely, just like I do every movie, just like I did with Shazam, and I really enjoyed the hell out of that last year. Just like I did with the
Yeah.
Flash, and I really enjoyed the hell out of that. So there's just like the Marvels, which the opinion on that's been kind of split, but I loved the hell out of
Sadly, a
that.
lot of those were 2023. Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, I will give it the old college try going into it. With that said, you can't help but be disheartened by everything that we're hearing today. It doesn't seem like it's just a matter of the same old stuff that like the internet likes to hate on stuff for and just make stuff up. A lot of the stuff that we're seeing again, to go back to the Marvels, a lot of the hate we saw in that movie was just justified or was unjustified and was going to come either way just because of who was in the movie, unfortunately. And people, that's how they are. This one doesn't seem like that. Like, this doesn't seem like a movie that if somebody hates on it, you could just say, "Oh, you're just being sexist." Like, it seems like it's genuinely going to be a very bad movie.
Yeah. 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 No, I think I was always kind of on the fence about this movie just because I think it didn't really entertain me when it comes to the trailer. We only got the one, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the trailer.
The trip, which
And
is a bad sign always, as we just
yeah. Yeah. And it seems like it was just a mess. The actors are not very pro this movie, it seems like, from the stuff Dakota Johnson's saying. So
she
it's
dropped her damn agency over this movie. Like,
yeah. I want to give people a little bit of a pushback on some stuff here. I've seen some people be like, "Hey, don't you think it's hysterical?" Or like, "Don't remember when she tagged Kevin Feige or MCU Marvel Studios in this post when she took the job?" And it's like, these actors don't follow it the way we do. Okay. They see the words Marvel and they say, all right, I'm in a Marvel movie. That must be the MCU. The same way some people look at Batman and say, oh, the latest MCU movie, because they don't understand the difference between DC and Marvel.
yeah,
So if you're not a fan, she's just going to take what, and I'm sure Sony spun it as just like, hey, this is our latest Marvel project in the Marvel universe. Probably didn't say MCU, but said Marvel universe. And she's like, oh, yeah, I know Iron Man. Right. Yeah, sure. And she takes this thinking it's going to be a big movie for her. And
especially, not to cut you off, but especially these Spider Verse movies, they can easily, even if they didn't just go the route of saying, "Oh, it's a Marvel movie," and just kind of hoping they would not realize that it's not that kind of Marvel movie. Um, they could even dangle that little thing of, well, we still have Tom Holland Spider Man in the MCU, and we
yeah,
have these crossovers, so you never know what it could lead to if you
Venom
sign
was in
up.
the MCU for the very end of a movie.
Yeah, yeah. Well, dude, honestly, wouldn't maybe not in such like kind of black and white funny terms like that, but along those same lines, something of like, yeah, you never know where it's gonna lead, kid. Like the old Hollywood freaking thing, or the thing that I used to hear in wrestling all the time that people would do to get me to work for $0, like that kind of stuff.
Yes, and that's how I'm paying you too, is an exposure here
Mm-hmm.
on the podcast. So thank
Hot
you.
dog and a handshake, brother.
um, yeah, so right now this movie's getting like blasted. It is last I checked, like 20% on Rotten Tomatoes for all critics and like 14 for top critics. Don't know if that went lower. Oh, it says 15% now.
15%? Dude, that's
15.
Morbius was what, 20?
Something like that. I think the lowest a Marvel movie is Fan Four Stick, and it's at like I think 9%. So like it's not going to be as bad as that, I guess. But uh,
Wow, dude. That's unfortunate.
yeah, the marketing's been very bad for this. Apparently, the best line in the whole movie about her mom studying spiders is not in the movie. Like what?
Best line in the movie.
It's not even in the movie. Yeah,
And
I don't know. So
I just, all right, I'm not going to pre-crap on it too much, but the only thing I will say, and we talked about this earlier in the chat, if they do Jessica Drew dirty like this, and like that's the only Jessica Drew live action we get, and all of this, like considering how big of a part of not only the Spider like universe but the Avengers in the comics she is, like just all time fumble, dude, all time fumble. If it's as bad as people are saying.
yeah, speaking of all-time fumbles, there was a lot of fumbles in the Super Bowl this Sunday, but one fumble that was not was the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer.
Atta boy. Look at that segue. You kidding me?
Deadpool and Wolverine is the official name now of Deadpool 3, which of course is the best way to do this. So that way you're not confusing people by saying Deadpool 3 is the first entry in the MCU. You know, you don't want to confuse people that much. So just calling it Deadpool and Wolverine gets the point across. You don't have to worry about numbered titles also being the first entry into the MCU for Deadpool. So
And you put the most. I mean, I love Deadpool and you know all that, but you got to put the most marketable character in the movie's name in the title.
of course, yeah, having to put Wolverine. And let's talk about that. I guess this movie, this trailer, has broken records. It is the most viewed trailer in the first 24 hours, 365 million. That's more
Crazy.
than Endgame, Infinity War, and No Way Home. Some people say that they add the Super Bowl viewing number in that, but if so, then you have to do the same thing for Endgame because Endgames was also on a Super
And
Bowl
in every
Sunday.
other in every other movie that airs trailers, or that's such a cop out. Like I don't know why people are dying so hard to poke holes in this. Like, okay, even if it's a little less than that, it's still a remarkable feat, and like goes to show that it's not really a superhero fatigue thing in terms of like why people have been turned off to these universes. It's more of just a bad movie fatigue kind of thing. Or I won't even say that. I won't even say that.
Actually, Deadpool's an anti-hero and not a superhero.
Yeah. No, but this movie it appears, you know, for all intents and purposes that it's going to be a smash, a much needed smash. I think this and Captain America: Brave New World are the two most important Marvel movies since the first Avengers. Because if that thing wasn't a smash, none of this exists today. Like they kind of had their little like build up, and they're like, all right, we'll see how this goes when we finally do the team up movie. If that thing sucked or it flopped, none of this would exist today. I don't want to say it's quite that dire with these with Deadpool and Captain America. Whereas if they aren't like if they don't live up to expectations that the universe is going to be gone or anything like that, but I think it'll be very much a reality check, not just to Marvel, but really also to us as fans. As like, all right, maybe people don't care quite as much about this stuff anymore. But if the trailer views are any indication, that is not going to be the case.
Yeah, no, I think one thing you have to also put in mind when you're looking at these trailers viewings is this is a trailer for a rated R film.
Yeah.
So the fact that a rated R film is having this many views on a trailer is huge. There's only been one rated R film that's made $1 billion, and that is Joker.
Mm.
So when people say this is guaranteed to make $1 billion, I can't agree with that still. It's going to be tough Deadpool makes around 780 in the first two each.
Mhm.
780 million. That's fine for this. 800 million, 900 million would be fine. A billion is going to be great, but that's not the like we shouldn't expect, and this is something that's been happening ever since these superhero movies started getting $1 billion. Is everybody says if it doesn't make $1 billion, it's a flop,
It,
and it's just not
it's
true.
it's been made the standard when in reality there's been like what 5 movies that have hit that mark in the MCU, 5 or 6
Uh,
probably.
Black Panther, Captain Marvel, Infinity War, Endgame, No Way Home.
Those are,
I'm sure.
those are only ones
I'm,
I can
I'm
think
sure
of. I'm
Civil
sure
War
probably the
may have
original Avengers. Yeah, but
Original Avengers and Civil War for
mm,
sure. Um,
but either way, we're talking about the cream of the crop here.
yes, yeah.
We're applying the curve to the A grade students instead of the actual average of what these are.
Right. And people look at uh Doctor Strange too and it's like, well, it didn't make $1 billion. And it's like, yeah, that's rare. We should be aware, especially now post COVID. If you want to call it fatigue for superheroes, you can. Um I'm calling it franchise fatigue because the main thing is it's not just the superhero genre that's having this issue. If you look at Transformers had this issue. You look at um I know I've talked about it on here a bunch, but there's other franchises that have released movies since that are not comic book related at all that have been having huge problems with getting people in the door. And part of that is just people are changing what they go see. They'll wait for streaming.
Well,
They
that's the
know these
thing.
movies come out 90 days later. 90 days
Hmm.
fly. It flies.
That was the sole. I mean, I don't think it was 90 days, but that was like the sole reason I didn't see the Iron Claw movie that came out recently in theaters. It's going to be on streaming next month. Like, it's not that much of a wait, and it's absolutely something that needs to be taken into account. Um, even with like the early days of Disney Plus, it didn't feel like the movies. Am I wrong on that? It didn't feel like they dropped as recently as they do like now. Like, I feel like there was more of a buffer there with the new movies at first.
Yeah, I think COVID sped it up, and then they re-extended it now because like Encanto dropped in November on in theaters, and then by Christmas it was on streaming,
Wow.
and that's where it took off. That's how it became a hit. Was
Yeah, yeah.
the Okay, so other franchises I was thinking about is like Mission Impossible. That struggled last year in theaters. Um, you know, the ones that did well are Guardians, Across the Spider Verse, of course. You also had Barbie, Mario, stuff like that. So it's really
Oppenheimer.
like some of these movies are franchise issues or just people not wanting to go see certain things because so many of these movies are coming out now. It's the it's the tough reality of how many of these films come out now and then struggle nowadays because people have to pick because the prices go up, and that's the biggest thing. So people with the prices going up, people want to pick the movie they want to go see the most, and it's going to be the movie they hear the best stuff about. Um, so that's why people say like bad movie fatigue or whatever. It's because people are skipping what is generally seen as bad movies. My
Uh,
screen is like totally frozen. Okay.
oh yeah, I didn't hear the last like probably 30
Okay.
seconds of what you're saying.
Yeah, my screen froze. What I was saying is that so that's why people say about bad movie fatigue is because people are only going to go see the movies that are getting the good ratings, the good
Mhm.
reviews, because they know the good word of mouth, because they know that it costs $13-15 for a ticket plus whatever popcorn you're going to buy. If you have a family of four, $15
hundred
tickets, you're looking
dollars,
at,
hundred
yeah,
dollars for the movie.
after everything
Easy.
it's $100. And before when it was a little cheaper and before COVID and stuff, people would go to the movies more, and they had that expectation of, oh, the movies they were going to see were the MCU movies,
Mhm.
right? Once they also give TV shows in the MCU, people might say homework, but what you'd also say is, all right, maybe I have a backlog, so I'm gonna watch these shows and then I'm gonna catch the movie when it comes on streaming. Or they're so used to seeing the level of quality of seeing superhero stuff now on their small screen at a bigger budget than like what the CW shows had. So now they're like, "Oh, I'm watching movie level quality in on TV," and they skip going to the theater.
That is exactly what I think it is. I think the toothpaste, in a sense, uh, I don't want to say the toothpaste is out of the tube. Actually, that's a bad analogy because that implies that there's no going back on it. But I think that it's very much just a thing of whether it's oversaturation or if it's just a matter of like, why am I going to go, especially given that the projects that have been on Disney Plus that are more kind of readily accessible to people haven't really been hitting in the way that MCU projects in the past have. I think that that has had a big effect on how the sort of general audiences see the whole universe. It feels, I guess the way to put it would be, it feels a lot less special now, just because there
That's a
was
big
so
thing.
much.
I do think that because when you get to people might say oversaturation at times, but what you're doing is kind of like what we thought was with Star Wars when they're like, "Oh, we've had a movie every year." You're like, "Yeah, Star Wars shouldn't." It's like kind of the same thing, but like Marvel was doing 3 movies, but then you have 3 movies a year on top of 3 or 4 shows, and it's like, "All right, this is now the only thing I'm watching." Right? Is I'm
Yeah,
watching this at home, I'm watching it on the movie theater, and I want to watch my normal TV shows, but I'm not finding time to do that, and stuff like that. Now you're going to have competitors too with DC and James Gunn, who he knows not to start filming until a script's ready. Now you're like, we got some actual competition.
we love to see it. But yeah,
So let's dive into the
so
trailer
let's
then.
dive
Right,
into this trailer. Yeah, I think we've
set the
given
stage.
a good amount. Yeah, I was going to say, given a good amount of kind of background info before we dive in here to what we do expect to be. Um, Maybe, I don't know if a revival is too strong a word to put it, but at least in terms of general like online perception, what we expect to be a legit revival and like okay, this is what we were missing with our MCU movies.
Yeah, the only complaint I have with that is people be like, this is gonna be a revival and it's giving us everything we want. A rated R film, and I'm like, yes, rated R for Deadpool. Don't get the mistake that every movie has to be rated R.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Because I see people ask for that all the time, and I'm
Again,
like,
it goes back to the being special thing. The fact that like Deadpool can be standing in the TVA and dropping F bombs after like,
yes,
we just watched all these seasons of Loki where that none of that happened. Like, that is great. If every character was going and doing it, it would just be like, all right, this is a little gratuitous.
yeah. It's the people that really like the Zack Snyder's Justice
Everything
League.
must be gray.
So this trailer kicked off with just so many goodies that you pointed out that I didn't even really notice. Do we want to start with just the general thoughts on the trailer, then dive into some of those Easter egg things?
Yeah, let's do it. My initial thought on the trailer is it's basically everything we asked for when we gave our predictions on what it would be in our last show last week. They gave us a good amount. They kind of guided us in the direction of where the story is going to go in terms of the TVA, and you can pretty much gather the assumption based on the fact that we didn't see Wade in like TVA prisoner apparel or anything like that, that they're going to be going to him for help, probably because he can do this whole fourth wall breaking thing and like has this sort of special trait that we've only seen with She-Hulk so far. So it's guided us in a good direction. It's given us plenty. Cannot emphasize that enough. Plenty to speculate on and kind of break down frame by frame and do all that fun stuff. But I loved it. I thought it was great, and as the viewers, the amount of viewers would show, it seems I'm not alone there.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny seeing him with like the wig on, right? They're singing happy birthday to him and seeing
Hair,
characters from the other movies. Yeah, I mean, it's just
yes,
like it was so great to see that, and then you get the knock on the door. It's like the TVA showing up, and he's like, "Who are you guys?" And just seeing like the same special effect of the doors of the TVA opening, and like seeing that with Deadpool and stuff is crazy. Um, but yeah, it's what we wanted, right? We said, show us like the TVA if they're in it, and show us like them kind of explaining what we need the character to do, and give us that. I think some people ended up being a little disappointed in the lack of Wolverine in the trailer. Um, I thought it was fine. I like this is the teaser. I think if you look it up, it
this
says
will not
teaser.
be a movie that only has one trailer. I can assure you. I
No,
can
this one's
assure
gonna
you
have
that.
5. All right,
Yeah.
and we'll get those money shots later. But I like saving him for the shadow over top of Wade with the claws coming out. Like that's a really cool shot, and that's a really cool thing. Seeing the broken 20th Century Fox logo behind them in the trailer, I was like, this is really going to be fun. Um, we didn't get that title we joked about, Deadpool kills the Fox universe, but it does seem like that's kind of what some of the. He may not actually go and kill it. I do think that is not going to be the main plot. I think they might be calling on him because he is somebody that can't die and can kind of take on somebody like Wolverine if there's bad Wolverine variants or something that they're tracking down.
Yeah. I also really liked going back to the TVA thing. It seems like this is sort of a different. I don't know if you'd call it a chapter of the TVA
Branch?
or like a section of the TVA, what have you. But like we saw in Loki how big this place was. I would have been a little bummed if it had been, Mobius and OB and B-15 and like the same 5 to 10 characters that we Casey, like these characters that we've already seen already. Like really flesh this thing out. Like show us the hierarchy. Give us the whole shebang of how big this thing is in scope. And they've done a pretty good job of that already with the stuff they've showed us and like the backstory and the way that He Who Remains tied into it and all that. Who knows what the hell's going on with that going forward? But it was cool to see kind of a different TVA in a lot of ways, in different characters, different kind of color scheme. Like it was the TVA, but it felt like a much different TVA than the Loki TVA.
Yes, definitely. But it was nice to just even see like some of that over again. Seeing
Mm-hmm.
some familiar set dressing type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the cool things we get here is Wade watching on TV all of these clips from the MCU, and it makes me really wonder, why are they showing him, catching him up on this universe that he has no affiliation with right now? Like, it really makes me speculate on what specifically they're like, we're going to need your help with this. Watch all of these movies we've watched, and kind of like, what are they trying to get from him watching this? That's what I really want to know.
Well, a lot of the clips on that screen were Avengers Age of Ultron. I believe the only one that wasn't was the shot of Ragnarok with like Thor's eye kind of going all
Hmm.
wonky and lightning. But every other shot that we saw on the main screens, at least, we saw a couple of different ones on the bottom, like smaller ones. Funny little Easter egg in there of like a video Ryan Reynolds did in character like last week or last month, accepting his award for Welcome to Wrexham.
Yes.
So like meta as hell. But most of those clips that we saw were Age of Ultron, and we also saw, there was more than one clip in that trailer that showed Wade in a very similar kind of setting to the opening scene of Age of Ultron. So people are starting to make connections to that.
Well, let's dive into that. Let's dive into
Yeah,
that right now. Yeah, so Age of Ultron is the introduction, of course, to Wanda and Quicksilver in the MCU, and I was thinking like, why would this be somewhere he goes? And you're talking about like the snowy thing with like the overturned RV, that maybe is the one that the Avengers leapt from. And I'm just thinking maybe he has to go and try to find variants of mutants, or he has to make some sort of correction to something in the timeline with that or something. That's the only reason I can think he's going to the beginning of Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm. That or it really all depends the like sequence of events of this movie. Like I could very easily see that also being a thing where like he's running away from the TVA and he's like going into different universe, kind of like
True,
how we
true.
saw Sylvie doing. So maybe like that's the portal that's up, and he's like, oh shit, I'm just gonna dump into that, or like or he's got one of the things I'm talking
Yeah, yeah.
about that you can like go to different
Time
universes and
Turner
stuff with.
thing,
Yeah,
whatever it's called.
and like maybe he's like, okay, that's the only universe here that I know because I just saw it on screen. Let's go there, sort of thing. Um, so I think there is some kind of major scene that's been left. Like we saw a
I don't
lot
know.
of the boys.
Jonathan Majors got let go.
Yeah, good pun. Um, so like we have the point where he gets taken by the TVA, and then we've got kind of like his little briefing, and then we've got this part where he's in the void, and we see a little bit of Eliath, and
Yes.
that's also where you'd expect him to be fighting Wolverine. So we've got that, and then we've got this Age of Ultron thing, if that's where they're going with that. So you would think if he's in the void, it's because he got pruned, and you would assume that, or you wouldn't assume, this is me assuming, that Age of Ultron scene is him running away from the TVA. So, like, there's something we're missing in there in terms of, like, what causes that? Does he mess something up horribly? Does he,
Well, he suits up,
whatever the hell.
right? He suits up in the elevator
In the
in the
TVA.
TVA.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's like, did he
So,
get his stuff back from somewhere? They give it to him once he agrees to something.
my guess is they try to get him to do something. Maybe it's that thing involving. We saw what appeared to be a Wolverine variant in sort of a like casino setting. He's got the patch outfit on, the white coat.
Yeah, okay.
We
So break that down for me. I'm not too familiar with Patch. Explain
so
it to the listeners.
Patch is essentially Wolverine's like alter ego ish thing. It's sort of like his undercover, if you will. Like he's in Madripoor. He's kind of just like uh again, just kind of like working undercover and not trying to be as obvious as trying to not be Wolverine in the best way he can, I guess it
Still
would be.
wearing the Wolverine
But
hairstyle.
still having the hair. But he's like, I got an eye patch now. They'll never see me coming. So yeah, that's just kind of the general idea of it. It's more just kind of one of his solo adventure monikers, I guess, for lack of a better term. Another interesting thing that I don't want to pass before we move off of this scene, though. So that scene was framed very intentionally to where you can't see the person sitting directly in front of that Wolverine. What you do see in that scene, and I picked this up on a New Rockstars video. This is not me trying to, take credit for something. You see the tiniest little corner of what looks like a purple like staff maybe kind of sticking out. Everyone on the internet saying it could be Gambit. Maybe that's where we finally get that Channing Tatum quick little funny kind of how we got the Krasinski thing. And honestly, I think that whole scene could be that, because I don't think that, judging by the build of the Wolverine we saw in that scene and everything, that did not look like Hugh Jackman. What I think that's going to be is Daniel Radcliffe and probably Channing Tatum as Gambit. And I can't think of any other like popular mutant castings that like people are either dying for now or were dying for at the time that didn't happen. But I think it's essentially going to be like a card game of like your favorite like mutant things that never happened that everyone was talking about, sort of thing.
That'd be interesting. That'd be interesting. Yeah, I saw a lot of people speculating on the back of that patch Wolverine, and I'm like, look, I don't know everybody's build, so I can't speculate on this. I can kind of see where people say it's Radcliffe, but I just know that's such a popular fan cast. I'm just not. I just this is the only way he would do it, though. I think he's not going to sign on to the franchise, so this would be the only shot to get Daniel Radcliffe. Um,
Oh, I
I,
don't think they would do it either. I
Channing
don't think
Tatum
Marvel.
as Gambit would be hysterical if they play it through Deadpool. I cannot imagine it if it had been a real movie, but
Mm-hmm.
with it being Deadpool, I can see him pulling like his 21 Jump Street persona.
To a
You
T.
know,
To a T.
yes, with Reynolds, they seem like they'd be a good match.
They would. It would. It has to be entirely comedic the whole time for sure.
Yes, yes. So you just kind of broke my brain that the 20th Century Fox logo might be in the void. I didn't really think of that.
Yeah, because we see a very similar sort of like sandy environment. Um, when there's that really quick flash scene of one of those TVA agents getting
Flash
scooped
is
up
in
by a
this?
lion. No. Yeah, it's Ezra Miller actually. The Marvel just signed him to a seven picture deal. No.
Oh boy.
Um um damn it, all right, okay. So the sort of environment in that scene, although the sky looks maybe a little darker, a little cloudier, which you would expect if Eliath is around, all sort of had that like sandy desert wasteland kind of vibe to it. So I would be shocked if all of that is not the void. All the stuff where he fights Wolverine, basically everything, all the stuff that we saw with Pyro, who is in this from X2 and
Yeah.
Last Stand.
He's an actor who's also in 12 Monkeys, a really great TV show, but yeah, I did not pick up on that until I saw people linking him cuz he looks so different now.
Yeah.
Sort of the same, but he's older, 20 years older, so it's kind of one of those
Mhm.
things where you're like, I didn't realize that was him.
Oh, I didn't realize at first either, and I've seen those movies, a zillion times. Um, so yeah, there's I think a large portion of this movie. I'm gonna guess probably the probably the second act of this movie will probably take place in the void. I would say. Um, I also have a big theory on the void that I don't know if you want to go into now, but I'd be more than happy to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, so as we know, Secret Wars is coming, and Battle World is the setting of Secret Wars as we know it in the comics. What happens is all these incursions occur. What Doctor Doom does is he goes and steals the power of the Beyonders and sort of uh, jumbles together the surviving small fragments of each like universe into one central world. I don't know, even despite the fact that we got a Doctor Doom Easter egg in this with the Secret Wars 5 cover, where they do go into a lot of the stuff about Doom and the Beyonders, by the way, in that issue. So, what I think is that the Void is Battle World. I don't think it's Battle World yet, obviously, but we know that all of these universes are incurring on each other, as we've seen in Multiverse of Madness and the Marvels. All these incursions are happening, I think, as sort of a last ditch effort to save the tiniest little pockets of the multiverse that they can. The TVA is going to prune everything they can and send it all to the void, and that's going to be Battle.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. So, and also eventually, they would still end up being sort of overtaken or usurped in the same way the Beyonders are, whether that's by Doctor Doom, whether that's by a Beyonder, whether that's by a Kang variant that they want to recast down the line. Somebody will end up kind of getting to the heart of things with Loki and Yggdrasil in the same way that Doctor Doom uses Molecule Man to sort of be the power core of Battleworld. I think that Loki will be used in that same way by
Mm.
whichever villain sort of usurps the TVA after everybody gets pruned to this void slash battle world.
So we're definitely going to get some cool things here with the comic, though, right? Like, you think Deadpool might whip this out to try to read ahead on what's going to happen or something, and then, Wolverine claws it or something. That's why it looks so shredded next to him. I don't know. I feel like we're going to get something with that. Seems like signature Deadpool thing of like, oh, let me read ahead and see what's going on in this storyline.
Or like he picks it up and he's like, they never follow these things anyway, and he like throws
Yeah,
it.
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Actually, there was another Easter egg that I picked up on New Rock Stars too. The soda bottle that's on top of that comic book is from the factory in the first Incredible Hulk, like where they were like manufacturing
Oh,
stuff. I don't.
yes. Yeah, the one that gets
Yeah.
the blood in the soda and like
Yes,
makes,
yes, and
yeah, all that stuff.
Stan Lee
Yeah,
drinks
yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So that was one of those bottles as well. So I mean, there's just been Easter eggs galore in this thing.
yeah. That's the good thing that they can do with this. Hold on,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, my screen froze again. Okay.
All right.
Um, yeah, that's the kind of stuff that they can do with this, where they will, just throw in. People wanted references and stuff in Multiverse of Madness and all that. This is where you get them, because
Mm-hmm.
the Void can have anything in it due to just the idea of what the Void is, and it can be from any movie because none of those
I mean,
timelines matter, right? So
dude, there's a scene, there's a drone shot in this trailer where it's like kind of overlooking a line of vehicles that are driving through the void. We see the Fantastic Four mobile. We see the ice cream truck from Moon Knight, which that's a deep cut and
wow.
a half. Yeah, we see Red Skull's car from Captain America: The First Avenger, and those were the only ones that I could make out. But there's a line of like 6 different vehicles there, and I guarantee you, everyone's just a hilarious Easter egg. In the way they did a lot of that in Loki too. We got the Thanos copter,
Yeah.
we got
Yeah.
the Avengers Tower, although it was oh, what was it? It was called something else in Loki. It was a reference to Majors. I can't remember what it was, but
Yes, yes. It was a
would be
reference to Kang's company.
Kang. Yes, it was Kang. Queng. Kang
Yes,
Tower. That
yes,
was
yeah.
what it was called. Yes.
And you got like Frog Thor and you know
Mm-hmm.
uh Loki and all that kind of stuff.
Go down, dude. You could break down the backgrounds of those scenes in Loki and for hours and be coming up with new stuff. So I think we're gonna get a lot of stuff like that. It's to your point, it's going to be everything that somebody who is disappointed with Multiverse of Madness wanted from that movie.
Yes, yeah. And we do know there will be cameos. Doesn't mean it has to be Marvel related cameos. Sean Levy said he was surprised at how easy it was to get some people for cameos. There's the rumor of T Swift showing up as Dazzler.
Mm.
There's if you're talking about Radcliffe or Channing Tatum, it doesn't always have to be like former X-Men people that are showing up in this.
It could be what ifs. It could just be funny, like Tom Cruise Iron Man type things.
Yes, but please no. Um, that one is just so weird.
Pepper Potts.
I
Sorry.
could totally see. Yeah, I could totally see like this could have been a movie, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I think they have the pool to have gotten Downey Jr. back, to get Chris Evans back for like just little scenes like they did in Dark World, where like Cap, Loki turns into Cap. Like they can get those actors back to do a minute or two because they have that pool. It's Deadpool, it's Ryan Reynolds. I do think that they could have done that. Doesn't mean they will, but I'm just saying, like, you can get those type of people to come back without being like, how are you reviving me? No, it's Deadpool. Don't worry about it. Like, it's possible.
I'll tell you one thing I do think we're getting in this movie, and it was rumored a while ago, and it's been kind of quiet ever since. We are absolutely getting Chris Evans back as Human Torch, and that whole Fantastic Four team.
You think so?
100%. Not, I don't know for certain, but I would be
So more like
stunned.
98% chance.
Yeah, 98%, maybe 98.1, depending on how I'm feeling. But we're diving so much into this Fox corner with this movie. It would almost be more surprising for them not. I mean, we're getting nods to Doom in the trailers and everything. There was a guy in the trailer that half of us thought was Doom for a split second there. Obviously was not. Was just a guy in an iron mask. But I would be very, very shocked if we didn't get that original, not Fan Four Stick, the original Fantastic Four team.
That'd be great. I still have a soft spot for them. I really did enjoy those movies as a kid, so that would be great.
And then you could even flip it around and make that Reed Richards the Maker. Are you familiar with the Maker?
Yeah, I know enough about him, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, like, there's a lot of stuff you could do with that to kind of not only give the character a second chance, but do so in a way that is perfectly logical for your universe as well.
Yeah, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Did we have any other references we need to?
I don't think so. Just going down the list here. No. Again, I would just probably re-mention to your point before. It was really great seeing all of the old characters back in the beginning. I was a little afraid. Excuse me, I'm about to burp here. I was a little afraid that we weren't going to get to see all of them again. Like we were going to see Vanessa and stuff like that, but like getting to see like Shatterstar and Dopinder and all that stuff, and the random biker guy from the first movie who is no more speaking
Yes,
lines for you, like that stuff is
Colossus.
just yeah. Well, Colossus I expected. Honestly, the one of the ones that I didn't see that I was expecting was Domino, but I guess
Yeah, I thought she said she wasn't in it. I think Sassy Beats said
I
she didn't get the
did.
call. So
She
it's kind
did,
of
but I thought it
interesting.
was also kind of like a Mark Ruffalo sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where the guy doesn't know what movie he's in or not in by the day, making me
um,
look stupid on Twitter. Thanks, Mark Ruffalo. Anyway,
I
no,
love
I
the
think that was it.
I love the poster though too, with the best friend bracelet. With Wolverine on one side, Deadpool on the other. I think that's really cool.
They already got those things up on Etsy too, man. All those,
Oh
all
man,
those people,
we
all
have to
those
buy it.
people are like, yeah, for real. I was thinking about it. Or
I get the Wolverine side, you get Deadpool side.
perfect, and Chris will be like, "What the?"
Yeah. Well, yeah, we have to split it into a three-way. That is I know
Well,
that sounded wrong. I did have
well,
friends. We called ourselves the Tricycle when we were in our Disney program. We were like three friends. Is me, my friend Michael, and my friend Lizzie. And we did get a bracelet that was split in three that said "best friends" and it was a heart. Isn't that really cool? I didn't know
oh
they
shit,
made that, but we need
nice.
one of those with a different Marvel character on it. I guess.
Hell yeah, that'd
Um,
be sick.
Another X-Men, I guess. All right, I guess that's about it. Anything, right? We good talking
Yeah,
Deadpool?
that's yeah. We don't have to go too crazy. We pretty much covered everything without beating it to death here, or just spewing the same old stuff you've probably seen on 10 other shows today if you're watching stuff like this on the internet. So I think we provided a little bit of a different approach without beating it to death. So yeah.
Yeah, so keep your eyes out for Madam Web review here on the show. That'll be coming whenever Ron and Chris get a chance to see it. I think this weekend.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's gonna be a real great time.
And then next week we'll is Ultimate Spider-Man 2 releasing, which means we have to read it and do another one of our monthly recaps for Ultimate Spider-Man.
Hell yeah.
So looking
Now
forward to
that one
that.
I'm excited for.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that.
You and
And
me
then
both.
yes, that's at some point we'll have more stuff coming down the pipe, I guess. rumor is X-Men 97 is dropping in next month, which means I have to really hurry up my rewatch of the first series. But yeah, I'm looking forward to all of that. And then of course, Deadpool in July, and we'll definitely have coverage of it here on the show. We also have what I think coming up next week is our comic book couples draft, somewhere around then.
Yeah, holy crap, that really snuck up. I totally just didn't even realize it until you just said it. But yeah, I think what did we have Ryan scheduled for one day early next week, I forget. But either way, the pod will be out middle to end of the week.
Yes. Yes.
With
So
yes,
that'll
featuring
be great.
yes. Yes, with Ryan Airy from Screen Crush, by the way, for everyone who's just like, who the hell is Ryan? He is gracious enough to join us for this one. So we're really stoked to have him.
Yeah, he's not like how I'm just a random Jordan. He's an actual big deal. So that make sure you know that. Yeah, so make sure you rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure that you like and subscribe to us here on the YouTube channel if that's where you're watching. And comment below what you're excited about for Deadpool 3 or what you're excited about in Madam Web. If you're excited at all, just let us know. And then make sure you follow us at all of our socials, which are in the description of the video below or in the description on the podcast show notes. All right, that's it. Thanks, Ron, for coming on here again. Just talking Deadpool and Wolverine, I should start calling it, I guess.
Always, brother. The road begins now, and it's one that I can't wait to reach the end of with this movie.
Yes. Yeah, I know. You were like, hurry it up. And I'm like, hey, I got a lot of stuff to prepare for in July. Let's not hurry up here.
Screw Jordan having to prepare for being a dad. Come on, get to the Marvel movies.
Oh man, the time's already going so fast as it is. I'm like, crap, this is gonna be wild.
Nah, you'll be fine, brother. You'll be fine.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching and listening. We'll catch you next time when we talk either the comic book draft, Madam Web, or Spider-Man 2, Ultimate Spider-Man 2. So we got lots of stuff coming at you soon. Stay tuned.